Hey YouTube, Dosm Writer here with a Dosm's Rambles vlog on a certain topic. This should go up the same day as my latest Dino Supercharge episode review, which should be a Sunday. I could be a liar, but hopefully I'm not. Get on it, future me. Past me is rooting for you. But anyway, I'm making this vlog because this topic has come up a lot, specifically in reference to talking about Power Rangers, specifically this season, because I've been very vocal about my disappointment, if you didn't know. But yeah, this topic's come up a lot. I was asked to address this a little bit in one of my Supercharged reviews, but I thought it would be better to just make a video of itself, because I know I would go on long about it, and you would end up with like maybe a 15-minute Supercharge review, where 6 minutes were about Supercharge. But anyway, if you clicked on the video, you know it says Kids Show, I think, in putting the thing. And I want to address this on two fronts. One, a bit quicker, is this is just kind of about the stigma of Kids Show. First of all, the stigma that you can't watch or should be belittled for enjoying a kids show is straight up stupid. Honestly, I think that the nerd interests have definitely become more inclusive and more acceptable, but then as a result, the nerd communities are much more exclusive and kind of like divisive and more dividing as it goes along. But the point is that it has become more socially acceptable to be open about your interests. But there still is a stigma of, oh, that's a kid show, you're stupid for watching it, or stuff like that. And I think that the idea that things are age restricted and once you hit a certain age you should just be boring and watch football and eat oatmeal is stupid. I think at any age you can enjoy whatever you want. I mean, obviously there's certain things of like maybe 4-year-olds shouldn't be watching Game of Thrones, but like I don't think it works in reverse. Like the concept of kids shouldn't watch this mature content doesn't work in reverse, that adults can't watch kids shows. I think it's stupid, especially when you're an adult. I think being an adult, or part of it, means that you just don't care what people think and you enjoy what you want to enjoy. My interests are 100% varied. I can go in one evening watching an episode of Game of Thrones, Grey's Anatomy, and Ben 10. It's like, it doesn't matter. I like what I like, and I think it's stupid. But part of that also is, of this same facet of the topic, is something I've encountered with when you're having arguments or discussions or voicing any kind of opinion about a show like Power Rangers, or it could be any property like Ben 10, something that's normally it's intended for kids. I'm putting quotes around it because yes, it is targeted towards kids in the marketing, but there are so many things made for kids that the creators themselves are clearly wanting to appeal to everyone. So I don't think that that's valid. I mean, not if that makes any sense. But my point is that I've seen multiple times when myself or others have gotten in arguments or discussions or whatever, anything that analyzes it, people will frequently say, well, it's a kid's show, you shouldn't care about it. And I think that ties back to, why can't, is it okay for me to have an in-depth argument or heated discussion about Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead, but not about Power Rangers or Ben 10 or something? I think it's stupid that the idea that it's a kid's show means you're not allowed to care. Like, I know I'm harsh on Power Rangers right now, but that's because it's a huge part of my life. The reason that I'm doing these reviews in the first place is because I became a fan of Power Rangers when I was a little kid. If that had been removed, I probably wouldn't be making videos right now, and if I was, it would be something completely different. So it's a franchise that I care about a lot, and I've been watching a long time. And so I want it to be better. And by just sitting there and being complacent and not saying anything, or just only saying good things because it's a kid's show and you shouldn't criticize it, is stupid. I'm sure that my videos and my voicing my opinions probably won't change anything in the structure of the show, that nobody will hear about it, but you have to try. And part of the reason that anybody does any sort of reviews or criticisms, whether it be for shows or TV or video games, is because there's the hope that if enough people do voice something, then maybe somewhere somebody involved with it will hear it and think maybe something should change. And how boring would it be if everyone just made videos or opinions about PR that were just, it's the greatest thing ever, worship Yoshi, worship Chip. It would be boring if everyone was just the same and had the same opinion. So I think the idea that you're not allowed to care because it's a kid's show is stupid. That you can care about this week's Westworld, but you can't care about this week's Power Rangers. Okay, but the other point that I wanted to get to, which was actually the main reason of this video, was the excuse for terrible quality being, it's just a kid's show. I get that all the time. It's not just the person, I'm not calling you out, the person that asked me to make this video. I get this all the time, whether I'm saying something on Twitter, whether it's one of these videos where I'm directly addressing the show or reviewing it, or it could be even a toy review where I'll make points about this wasn't good, the writing wasn't good, the acting, whatever, and people are like, well, it's a kid's show. Like it's an excuse, as if kids shows can't be criticized because it's like being tried as a minor or something. I don't know. I think that's not a valid excuse. And the reason is because I know of dozens of kids shows, possibly more, that not only that are airing right now, but that have aired in the past and probably will air in the future, that are fantastic. Especially in this era. Shows that are on the surface intended for kids, like Adventure Time or Steven Universe or even SpongeBob, or are revered and adored by kids and adults of all ages because they're smart, they don't talk down to their audience, and I think that's amazing that there's these people that will make shows intended for kids that not only want to capture kids' imagination, but want to capture adults and everybody, and I think that's the brilliant way to do it. Avatar and Legends of Korra is another example. Batman the Animated Series has been revered and loved and adored for years, and I think that's great that these shows, there's numerous ones that are, like I said, adored by all ages. And not only that, I think it's great to have these shows that you might watch when you're younger and revisit when you're older and say, yeah, that was as good as I thought it was. In fact, I can appreciate this more now because there was stuff I couldn't understand when I was a kid, as opposed to things such as like MMPR or maybe like an 80s Transformers that you go back and watch and be like, wow, I was kind of dumb as a kid. This is pretty stupid. I think that's great, and I think that if kids programming was just consistently dumb across the board, all channels, all production companies, then I would get it and be like, okay, that may be being too hard on it. But there's been example after example of kids shows that are intelligent and, like I said, they appeal to all ages and send messages that are fantastic. And another thing that I thought of when preparing for this video is Disney movies. Disney movies that aired decades and decades ago can still be enjoyed by people my age and older, and there's things you appreciate that you didn't understand when you were little. Pixar movies are a shining example of movies that are ageless, really, and there's jokes and references included that you won't get when you're a kid, that you'll get when you get older. So I think that not only just the climate of kids TV in general being able to be enjoyed and appreciated and analyzed just as thoughtfully as primetime dramas for many is the reason that being a kid's show is an excuse for terrible quality. And speaking directly to Nickelodeon, I mean not the company, but I mean like the concept of it being on Nickelodeon. Honestly, I don't watch every Nickelodeon show, but PR is the only one that feels right now like it's talking down to the audience, almost on a preschool level at times. It's like it's playing with an outdated set of kid gloves, that even some of Nickelodeon's worst stuff, like their worst crime seems to be fart jokes. And like even small stuff where I'm not saying they need to do this because it makes the show better, but PR is one of the only kid shows that I watch or know of that refuses to use the words death or kill. And like I'm saying, I'm not using that as a springboard of they need to make it more dark and say the words, but it's awkward. And there's shows like that are just 15-minute fun cartoons that will use the word death, and it's just, that's an example of they're playing with this really weird set of kid gloves that I feel doesn't apply anymore. And I just think that saying, oh, it's a kid show, it doesn't have to be good, is a terrible excuse. And Nickelodeon, two examples I want to use. They're not on the air anymore, but iCarly and Victorious I think are good examples from sort of the same line of Drake and Josh. Those are shows that Drake and Josh sort of grew up with, but that I really enjoy and still enjoy the reruns because they're smart and they're funny, and there's tons of humor and like little Easter eggy humor in those shows that will go over kids' heads. Not Drax's heads, but Drax doesn't have multiple heads, reference fail, but that you understand are there for older audiences, and they're not direct, you know, but they're obviously smart, and that's a good example of something that are like, hey, people might enjoy this. And even without those references that adults will get, those are shows that don't talk down to the audience. They don't have that traditional, hey, if you help your bully out with a problem, he won't bully you. That's not true. They're still going to bully you. iCarly's solution for dealing with bullies was get a Buttersock and Sam, which I thought was funny. I like that they don't always feel the need to talk down to kids. And I want to say this too, getting sidetracked for a second, is like, you can say, oh, you're coming at this as an adult, you don't understand what kids like. I was a kid, obviously, like everybody. And when I was a kid, when shows would talk down to me or tried too hard to teach you in a lesson that was unrealistic, I would honestly get upset. It annoyed me. So I'm saying not all kids are like that, but I remember what it was like as a kid to be annoyed by stuff like this, and it continued as I grew up. And I think the best example I can use here to end this, other than just the fact that Disney movies and Pixar movies in general are a great example of kids' entertainment that can be enjoyed by everyone, but in terms of Nickelodeon directly, Ninja Turtles. That, granted, it is a cartoon, a 3D animated cartoon, it's not live action, but it's another superhero action franchise that's initial target audience is kids, but it has smart, funny writing, and ongoing stories. Is it always perfect? Do they focus on cry too much? Did I stop watching it a lot because the schedule was erratic, which is why I appreciate PR's consistent schedule? Yes, but that's a great example of a property that is sort of in a similar genre that manages to not talk down to its audience. Even when Turtles can be inconsistent, I can watch an episode and not feel like they're talking down or trying to dumb down the plot for the sake of kids. So I think that that's not an excuse for terribleness. I think with any show you can get out of hand in arguments, but I think the idea that you're not supposed to care or that it gets a free pass because it's a kid's show is stupid. We should always want to enjoy the things we want to watch, and voicing our opinions is important. And I think that, yeah, it just shouldn't get a free pass, because there's dozens of examples now and in the past of fantastic entertainment that people have worked hard on that to appeal to all ages, and that people of all ages appreciate. And I just think that, yeah, that's basically it. I don't want to just go into repeating myself, but I hope I didn't go on too long, but I thought it was something worth making. I've been thinking about this for a while because it's come up a lot, and I thought a separate video was warranted, because this is like 12 minutes. It'll probably be about 14 by the time I wrap up. So that would have been like a 20-minute Supercharged video if I would have tacked this onto this week's Supercharged. But anyway, I hope that sort of clarifies my points on why I think kid shows can be enjoyed by anyone, and it's a made-up rule, honestly. It's like the rule that you should only eat pancakes for breakfast. The idea that things like that are age restricted is made up, but I hope that clarifies that and why I think kid show isn't an excuse to be bad, really, when we think about it. But that's about it. Until next time, make sure to check out the Crazy Podcast at writersrangersrambles.com, and of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Dosm Writer, signing out.